Europe's farmers continue to protest as discontent with green policies grows.
Albania's constitutional court has given the go-ahead to a migration deal with Italy that's been widely criticised by human rights groups.
The EU awaits an investigation into UNRWA but has not suspended aid to the UN Agency for Palestinians.
The UK's King Charles and his daughter-in-law, the Princess of Wales, leave hospital in London after undergoing surgery.
Europe's farmers continue to mobilise. Around 15 countries have seen large-scale protests over the past 18 months. It started in the Netherlands with rallies against the government's plan to reduce nitrogen emissions by cutting livestock numbers. Similar complaints were heard in Ireland and Belgium. In Poland and Romania, farmers are denouncing tariff-free imports on Ukrainian cereal, which are destabilising local markets. In Germany, farmers are rallying against the phase-out of a tax break on diesel fuel by 2026, as well as the EU's environmental standards. The complaints are much the same in France. While the catalyst varies from one country to another, all are calling for better incomes and simpler standards.
Il y a une demande de plus en matière d'environnement et en même temps le soutien public a fortement baissé. Si on fait un calcul simple, entre 2003 et 2023, la valeur des aides directes a baissé de 37%. Et ces aides représentent plus de la moitié du revenu agricole en moyenne européenne.
The European Commission's Green Deal crystallises the tensions in the agricultural sector, and particularly the Farm to Fork programme to move towards more sustainable agriculture.
Au départ, la Farm to Fork a été conçue comme une stratégie qui allait imposer des normes pour forcer les changements en se disant que la montée en gamme ferait que les consommateurs paieraient et que les banquiers, avec de l'argent pas trop cher, financeraient les investissements des agriculteurs. Force est de constater que cette équation aujourd'hui n'est pas possible. Les consommateurs aujourd'hui désertent les produits plus chers et on voit le secteur du bio en grande difficulté. Et aujourd'hui, la période de l'argent facile qui aurait permis des investissements n'est plus là, elle appartient au passé.
In the immediate future, the Belgian presidency of the Council of the European Union is preparing a review of the current Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP.
On va faire une analyse comparative de la manière dont les choses se sont mises en place l'année dernière et évidemment faire sur base de cette analyse comparative, prendre les bonnes pratiques qui sont efficaces et aussi corriger et en tout cas entamer le processus de correction au niveau européen.
The CAP remains the Union's biggest budget envelope. Farmers know what they owe to this policy. The challenge for member states is to strike a balance between climate ambitions and the sector's economic future.
Albania's constitutional court has given the green light to a migrant deal with Italy. It was referred to the court following an attempt at blocking its ratification by 30 Albanian lawmakers. The deal can now be voted on in Parliament, and with Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama's left-wing Socialist Party holding 74 of Parliament's 140 seats, the deal is expected to pass. The agreement was signed in November between Rama and Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni. In it, Albania agreed to give temporary shelter to thousands of migrants who reach Italy until Italian authorities can process their asylum bids. 2 centres will also be set up in Albania to process asylum applications by people rescued by Italian authorities in international waters. The agreement, endorsed by the European Commission President but widely criticised by human rights groups, is part of Meloni's efforts to share the work of addressing migration with other European countries.
The European Commission will review funding for UNRWA following the results of an investigation, but it's not suspended support as no transfers are planned till the end of February. At issue is UNRWA's statement that it fired several employees of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees who were allegedly involved in the Hamas terror attack against Israel on October 7th. It's suspected that 12 were involved. In total, 13,000 people work for UNRWA.
We are asking, first of all, the organisation to carry out the investigation which it has itself announced, and secondly, we are asking them to agree to an audit to be carried out by independent experts that would be selected by the Commission.
The UN Secretary-General has pleaded with states. While I understand their concerns, I was myself horrified by these accusations, he said. I strongly appeal to governments that have suspended their contributions to at least guarantee the continuity of UNRWA's operations. The US, the UK, Canada and 7 EU countries have suspended the aid, including France and Germany. Spain, Ireland and Luxembourg are some of the countries that will keep helping Palestinians through UNRWA. Antonio Guterres says that UNRWA's current funding will not allow it to meet all requirements to help the 2 million civilians in Gaza that depend on the agency for daily survival. International Crisis Group analyst says this humanitarian catastrophe may rise to an even more unpredictable scale.
You know, the UN Refugee and Works Agency is one of the UN agencies that doesn't have a reserve fund. So they basically live from month to month. And even before October 7th, the UN Refugee and Works Agency was sounding the alarm about shortages of funds on a month-to-month basis. Now, with the crisis after October 7th, the demands have skyrocketed, because of the humanitarian situation in Gaza. So at this point, to say that there is no money available until all of this is sorted out could be fatal. Could be fatal for the UN Refugee and Works Agency. It could be fatal for a lot of people in Gaza.
The current government of Israel has for a long time criticised UNRWA's work, which has operated in the region since 1949, helping Palestinians forced to flee their homes as refugees. Israel alleges UNRWA perpetuates anti-Semitism in the Palestinian territories and neighbouring countries. The Israeli Foreign Affairs Minister Israel Katz said it would do its utmost to stop UNRWA from operating after the ongoing war. Shona Murray, Euronews, Brussels.
Japan and Austria are to suspend their funding for the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. The announcement comes after the US, UK, Germany and Italy also suspended funding for the organisation. UNRWA says it will be forced to halt operations within weeks if funding isn't restored. The Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh condemned Israel's claims that UNRWA staff were directly involved in Hamas's attack on Israel on October the 7th. In response, the agency sacked several staff members. Shtayyeh urged the international community to keep funding the agency. He highlighted the severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza and said the action was dangerous and must be reversed. Meanwhile, activists and family members of Israeli hostages taken into Gaza by Hamas protested next to Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing as the delivery of aid to the Gaza Strip continued. One protester described it as not humanitarian aid, but ammunition. The UK's King Charles has left hospital after spending 3 nights there following treatment for an enlarged prostate. Charles was seen leaving the private London clinic with Queen Camilla by his side. The King decided to announce the surgery in order to encourage other men to have their prostates checked. His daughter-in-law, the Princess of Wales, also left the same hospital on Monday after almost 2 weeks, during which she underwent abdominal surgery. She's now recovering at her home in Windsor and will not undertake any official duties until after Easter.
Je sais pas quand auront lieu les prochaines élections européennes.
L'année prochaine? Non? Dans quelques mois, peut-être.
C'est cet été, non? Je sais pas.
In June, it will be time for citizens of the European Union member states to cast their vote and elect representatives to the European Parliament. In the last elections in 2019, there was a remarkable 50% surge in youth participation compared to the 2014 polls. However, in France, people aged 18 to 39 seem to have held back, with voter turnout ranging from 32 to 37%, significantly lower than participation recorded in other European countries like Denmark, Germany and Belgium, where 60 to 90% of younger voters cast a ballot. But where do things stand today? Are young French voters feeling engaged?
Vous pensez aller voter? Non, je pense pas.
Moi aussi.
Non. Parce que je savais même pas quand est-ce que c'était. Et puis je me suis pas trop intéressée aux candidats et aux partis.
Là, je viens d'avoir 18 ans et je connais pas grand-chose sur ce fonctionnement-là, donc c'est sûr qu'il faudrait faire plus.
Moi j'ai 19 ans, je vais bientôt avoir 20 ans cette année et j'ai jamais entendu vraiment parler de ce que c'était réellement. On sait juste qu'il y a les élections mais on sait rien du tout derrière.
The organization Young European Movement is trying to fix this apparent lack of interest. Here, around 100 high school students and young people have been taking part in a simulation of the European Parliament.
Vous êtes levé tôt pour parler d'Europe?
Je ne pense pas vraiment que les jeunes Français soient les mieux informés sur les questions européennes et sur le fonctionnement du Parlement. Je crois que le dernier Eurobaromètre disait qu'il n'y avait que 14% des Français en général qui connaissaient la date des élections européennes. Donc c'est un vrai enjeu pour nous de pouvoir les mobiliser et de pouvoir faire de la sensibilisation et de l'information sur ces questions-là.
Ce qu'on a demandé de faire aux élèves, c'est d'étudier un texte, une résolution du Parlement européen sur la Convention sur l'avenir de l'Europe. Ils sont dans un groupe politique, donc leur objectif, c'est de regarder dans le texte qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent amender.
Tous les États. Nous avons la possibilité de voir les négociations entre différents partis à travers cette simulation. Nous pouvons nous mettre à la place et dans le rôle et dans la peau de ces députés, ce qui nous apprend davantage qu'un cours magistral dans un amphithéâtre.